Hello everyone, welcome to Civilstap. This is the third lecture in a series of 8 lectures where we are discussing the previous year questions that have come in HPPSC HAS exam from Sociology optional. The purpose of this particular series is to help the potential students who are going to write their mains examination in the middle of the next month to help them write quality answers, help them understand what is the requirement of every answer, and also help them learn some answers which if are repeated in the next year's or this December's paper, they could answer it in the best of the manner. So in this video, we are discussing the third paper. In the previous video, we discussed the Sociology paper 1 2020. In the second video, we discussed Sociology paper 1, paper 2 of the year 2020. This is the third video where we are discussing Sociology paper 1 of the year 2019 in the series of HPPS HAS previous year question paper discussion. Now let's look into the first question that was asked in the year 2019. How did French Revolution and Industrial Revolution contribute to the emergence of sociology? It's a very interesting question. It is related to your chapter 1 of paper 1 that talks about emergence of sociology. So here the main focus is upon the emergence of sociology as a separate discipline. So in this question, if you look at the introduction, in the introduction you can tell about certain peculiar characteristics that relate with the emergence of the discipline that is sociology. So you can begin your answer by focusing upon that if you talk about the emergence of sociology or sociology as a discipline is a product of a specific time and a specific place. That is, sociology emerged at a specific place in a specific time frame. If we talk about the specific place was Western Europe. And if we talk about the specific time were all the events that happened in the 18th century. So what is sociology? Sociology as a discipline is a product of, or the emergence of sociology is rooted in specific place, that is the Western Europe, and specific time, that is the events that were taking place in the 18th century. After writing this introduction, let's come to the main body or the burden of proof of this question. So we have to relate your introduction with two prominent events of 18th century. The first prominent event was Industrial Revolution and the second important event was French Revolution. So you will say that in 18th century two prominent events took place. The first event was Industrial Revolution and the second event was French Revolution. And both the Industrial Revolution and French Revolution, they brought significant changes in the society, and these changes represented a kind of good development. It is good development. The good development has been referred to as hope dimension of the two important events, Industrial Revolution and French Revolution. Whereas the Industrial Revolution and French Revolution also resulted into some bad developments in the society, and we have referred to these bad developments in this particular answer as the despair dimension of both French Revolution and Industrial Revolution. So that means that what we are talking about is the two very important events of the 18th century, that is the Industrial Revolution and the French Revolution. They led to some good developments in the society as well as some bad developments in the society, representing the hope and the despair dimension of the society. Now, if you talk about what are the hope or the good developments that happened out of Industrial Revolution and French Revolution put together, they created a situation of rationality. The role of religion declined. So you know that religion results into false consciousness or false knowledge in the society. This role actually declined. The rationality was on a rise. People became more rational, people became more knowledgeable, people became more aware, they were less religious. So it created good in the form of rationality being prevailing in the society. Then it also resulted into the factory mode of production. Factory mode of production resulted into surplus. Surplus resulted into better consumption. Alright. So the second development that took place as a result of industrial revolution was factory mode of production was created that result into larger production, resulting into more surplus, resulting into greater consumption by the people or better quality of life. Then, if you talk about both Industrial Revolution and French Revolution, they put the people or the human beings in the society as the primary concern. That is, they both resulted into the society developing humanism. Are you getting my point? So, society developed humanism, society focused upon human rather than religion, and this is something positive because people want them to be the uh, you can say the primary focus in the society. So, humanism was another positive development. French Revolution is primarily known for giving to the world the concepts of liberty, equality, and fraternity. So, these are the positives again. So you see, both Industrial Revolution and French Revolution created a situation of hope in the society by giving certain very important or positive developments that were different or better than the feudal Europe. They are different and better than the feudal Europe. But at the same time, they created a situation of despair. How would you relate the situation of despair? Both Industrial Revolution and French Revolution, they created a situation of chaos in the society. Society में इन्होंने chaos create किया. जैसे फैक्ट्री मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन आने से क्राइम में बढ़ोतरी हो गई, पोल्यूशन में इंक्रीज हो गया, एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ऑफ लेबर बिगेन. All right, unhygienic living conditions in the city, development of congested areas, all these represent chaos because of industrial revolution. Because of industrial revolution, the rural population migrated to cities, resulting into rural depopulation. At the same time, it resulted into, or you can say the French Revolution in particular is infamous for reign of terror. पूरे सोसाइटी में टेरर मचा हुआ था, confusion, chaos. These are the negatives or the despair dimension of both Industrial Revolution and French Revolution. So here we have discussed that yes, Industrial Revolution and French Revolution created both hope and despair dimension of modernity. But how does it provide answer to our question that how did it help in emergence of sociology? So you see, hope dimension or the better dimension of French Revolution and Industrial Revolution, it prevented the society from going back to the dark ages or the feudal society. And the hope dimension prevented the society from going back, but at the same time, it was also established that the existing disciplines at that time in the form of history, geography, economy, political science and anthropology, they could not find answer to the despair dimension of modernity or the negative dimension of modernity. So existing disciplines could not find solution to the negative dimensions of modernity, and the answer to the negative dimensions of modernity was then required to be established in a new discipline. The new discipline then therefore emerged in the form of sociology, providing a complete answer to our first question, how did Industrial Revolution and French Revolution played a very crucial role in emergence of sociology. This is what is the requirement of this question, and this is how you are supposed to write a quality answer. Alright, wonderful. Let's go to the second question. The second question says, describe the basic postulates of scientific method and how far these postulates are followed in sociological research, and you have to write two parts in this answer and they both have equal weightage. You have to describe the postulates of scientific method for 10 marks, and you have to describe how far these scientific postulates are followed in sociological research. So let's see how you have to attempt this answer and what you have to write in this answer. In the introduction, you can talk about the postulates of scientific method. And you can say that if you talk about the postulates of scientific method in sociology, the postulates of scientific method in sociology is rooted in a debate. And that debate was whether sociology is a science or it is not a science. If you talk about the early sociologists, they called sociology to be science. And these early sociologists, we call them as positivists. Alright, so the postulates of research methods in sociology or scientific research in sociology, it is rooted in a debate whether sociology is a science or it is not a science. And this debate was started by the early founders of sociology, whom we refer to as positivists, who called that sociology is a science. So when the positivists called sociology as a science, they said that the research in sociology or the sociological research can be carried out following scientific methods. Now, if you talk about the scientific methods, they rest upon certain postulates, they rest upon certain principles. What are these principles? The first postulate of scientific method says that the social reality, it is sui generis. A social reality has its own independent existence. A social reality exists in its own ways. It is not influenced by something. So if it is existing independently, if it exists in its own ways, my dear friends, social reality can be observed through empirical observation using scientific research. So the first postulate says that social reality is sui generis, having its own independent existence. When sociology or social reality or society has independent existence, it can be measured through external observation. It can be measured empirically, means you can carry out external observations. You can carry out external observations. You can measure them empirically. You can carry out external observations. And the third postulate of scientific method follows from the observations. That is, the observations that you carry out using scientific methods in sociology, they can be repeated and they can be revalidated. So there is validification, or you can say they are valid and they are reproducible. So the scientific methods reproducible. All right. So the scientific method postulate says society or social reality is sui generis. It exists independently. Therefore, it can be measured externally as an external observer. Then you can calculate the observations, and these observations are like facts. The observations are just like natural facts. Just like observing natural facts result into repeated observation and valid observations, my dear friends, even society can be studied through scientific methods. If you look at the application of scientific method in sociology, you cannot say whether sociology is completely a scientific discipline or it is completely not a scientific discipline. And therefore, to answer the second part of the question, you have to divide society or sociology into two parts. One is macro sociology, second is micro sociology. Let's first talk upon the macro sociology. Macro sociology simply refers to that the society is like a system. Here you do not focus upon individual. So no focus on the individual. You do not focus upon the individual in macro sociology. You focus upon the society as a whole. You treat the society as a system. You treat the society as a system. Being a system, the society is external to the individual. The society is organized, and because it is external to the individual, it is organized. You can observe this organization of the society, and therefore when you are carrying out research in macro sociology, the scientific methods are applicable. Now there is another side of the coin, that is micro sociology. In the micro sociology, you do not focus upon society as a system. In micro sociology, you end up studying or observing the individual. The individual results into a dynamic organization of the society such that the society is characterized by human consciousness. Human consciousness is highly unpredictable. Human consciousness is unpredictable, so the scientific methods fail in microscopic study of the society. In the microscopy, you cannot carry out the microscopic society, or you cannot carry out the microscopic study of the society using scientific methods. Why? Because scientific methods apply to something which is static, which does not change because of something which is unpredictable. Whereas if you look at the human mind is completely unpredictable, and because it is completely unpredictable, you cannot carry out the reproducible and valid results. And therefore, when carrying out the microscopic research, you cannot apply the scientific methods. So this is the answer to the second part. Let's look into answer to the third question. Status and roles are two sides of the same coin, discussed for 20 marks. So in the introduction, you should go and talk about what is status and role. And you would open your answer by saying that both status and role, they are very important element in a social structure. So if you talk about status in particular, status is nothing but status is a position of a person in the society. If you talk about the social setting, if you talk about social organization, what position a person occupy in that particular society, that is referred to as status. Now, status and role are not two very different things. Rather, you will say that the status and roles, they are highly interrelated, and this statement is going to link your introduction with your main body. Then you are going to switch your paragraph, you will change your paragraph, and in the next paragraph, you are going to talk about two important sociologists, Young and Mack. Both Young and Mack, they have told that a role is nothing but a role is a function of the status. What does it mean? It means that when a person who occupy a particular status, he is bound to play a role. That is, a person who is occupying a status, he has to perform the role as well, and because of that reason, the status and role, they are interconnected. So what do you mean by a role? A role is nothing but it is a bundle of responsibilities, it is a bundle of duties, it is a bundle of functions that a person is obliged or forced to perform when that person occupy a particular status. When a person occupy a particular status, that person is bound to fulfill certain responsibilities, expectations, duties and functions that the society and other people in the society has. By the virtue he occupy a particular status. And this is how role and status are highly linked. Then Mack and Young, they further go and talk about that role is nothing but it is the behavioral aspect of status. Status is positional, but when a person in that position carry out an action, a behavior, that becomes the role. So role is nothing but it is the manner in which an individual fulfills the obligations, fulfills the duties, performs the functions that are attached with the status he is occupying. And by the virtue of fulfilling the role, he is able to enjoy all the privileges which are attached with the status that he or she enjoy. In the conclusion, you can say that therefore society comprises of positions as well as functions. The positions are the status and the functions are the roles, and therefore the combination of roles and the society status is what defines the society. This is the answer to your question number 3. This is what you are supposed to write, and this is the expectation of the examiner when you are writing this particular answer. Let us go ahead now and let us discuss the question number 4. Discuss caste as a form of stratification. What factors are responsible for changing the nature of caste system in India? Very interesting and a simple question, I would say. If you talk about the first part of the question, discuss caste system as a form of stratification, the word stratification here becomes the basis of your introduction. In the introduction, you can explain, alright, in the introduction, you can explain about stratification. You can tell that stratification is a process of dividing the society into hierarchical layers. Alright, you are dividing the society into different layers which are arranged in an hierarchical manner, one above the other. And it is something very peculiar in stratification that each layer has its own independent identity. And not just identity, it has its own independent characteristics. So if you look at the society, in social stratification, the society is divided into different layers which are arranged in an hierarchy, A being the lowest and E being the highest in the hierarchy, such that each layer has its own independent identity and characteristics. E has its own independent identity and characteristics. D, C, B, A all have their independent characteristics and societies, characteristics and identities. This is your introduction. Then in the main body, you can talk about different forms of stratification that exist. There are various forms of stratification that exist. That stratification can be on the basis of power. That stratification can be on the basis of prestige, and that stratification can be on the basis of property. If you talk about the stratification on the basis of power, it results into formation of political parties or stratification of the society into political parties. If you talk about prestige, it results into stratification of the society on the basis of caste groups. If you talk about property, it results into stratification of the society on the basis of into classes. So here we are talking about castes. And Indian society is particularly characterized by stratification on the basis of prestige, resulting into division of Indian society into different caste groups. Now, as the question says that the caste system in India is on a constant change, so you are going to talk about the factors that is resulting into these changes. So a famous Indian sociologist M.N. Srinivas, he gave the concept of westernization, that under the western influence the Indian society is undergoing a constant change. So according to M.N. Srinivas, it is westernization that is changing Indian caste system. In fact, he has written a very famous article, and that article is known as Obituary to Caste System. He has written Obituary to Caste. Obituary क्या होता है? Obituary is nothing but it is a Shraddhanjali. So he has written a book named as, or essay named as Obituary to Caste System, where he has talked that under the westernization and changing Indian landscape, the caste system is gonna completely change. Similarly, there is another Indian sociologist, his name is Yogendra Singh, and Yogendra Singh says that it is modernization that is bringing change to Indian caste system. At the same time, Indian society is witnessing change in the form of secularization. Indian society is witnessing change in the form of secularization, which is increasing the tolerance quotient of the Indian society, and the more the people become tolerant, the less they become considerate of their the less they become considerate of their differences on the basis of caste. So secularization is also reducing or changing the caste equation in India. And not just that, people are coming out of the hold of religion. And more people come out of the hold of religion, the caste system is getting diluted. And the process of the people coming out of religion, that process is known as desacralization. So desacralization, secularization, modernization and westernization are the factors that are promoting the change in the caste system in India, such that in today's scenario, today a lot of society members believe that class is more important than caste. In fact, you should conclude your answer by touching upon a very important fact that in India, if you talk about caste, caste today is limited to just private life and not public life. Caste has withdrawn itself from public life. Caste today is having its remnants only in the private life of the individual. So caste is resulting into public life as is witnessing a withdrawal from public life and is limiting itself only to the private life. So let's now look into the question number 5. A very interesting question number 5, which consists of 2 parts and each part has a weightage of 10 marks. The question is, Amal Durkheim had argued that function of division of labor in the society is that of promotion of social solidarity. Elaborate the statement and analyze the distinction between the 2 forms of solidarity discussed by him. So you can open your answer in an introduction where you can talk about Amal Durkheim's concept of division of labor, or you can also write about who Amal Durkheim was. So you can talk about, so you will go and you will talk about, Amal Durkheim is a structural functionalist who said that the society is divided into social facts. And these social facts, they are functional because they are performed to fulfill needs of the society and they bring the solidarity in the society. And one of the very prominent social fact is a division of labor. So he says that there are two type of societies in the world: the societies that are low division of labor society and the societies that are high division of labor society. In the low division of labor society, people perform simple and similar tasks, whereas so let's first talk about the low division of labor society, and then we are going towards the high division of labor society. So in the low division of labor society, people perform similar and simple tasks. The division in the low division of labor society, people help each other in carrying out simple tasks which everyone performs in a similar manner. So people are not differentiated, they are helping each other carrying out simple tasks which everyone can perform. So the society over here develop a kind of solidarity among the members just because they are performing the similar mechanical task, and this kind of solidarity that develop in this society is known as mechanical solidarity. However, if you talk about the high division of labor society, in the high division of labor society, the tasks are specialized and they are complex. These tasks are differentiated. A large task is divided into smaller tasks which are highly specialized tasks, such that you need an individual to carry out every every complex subtask. So the entire task is divided into subtasks. So this is the submission sign, and a sum. This sign is representing sum. So all the tasks, when they are summed together, it result into a larger task. All the tasks, when they are summed together, it result into larger tasks. So what does it mean? It means that a larger task is performed when the individuals which are carrying out specialized some tasks work together to complete the larger task. This kind of division of labor, where people perform exclusive specialized functions helping each other to perform a larger task, this kind of solidarity that emerges, or interdependence that emerges among the member of the society, this solidarity is known as organic solidarity. So now let's compare the two societies, the societies which are emerging out of mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. So you can compare these societies on the basis of this table. You can talk about what is the amount of population in this society, which Emile Durkheim calls as material volume. With low division of labor society or mechanical solidarity society, the material volume or population is small or low. In high division of labor society, the population is large or high. The economic activity is simple, crude, and primordial, performing similar tasks. Whereas in high division of labor society, the tasks are highly differentiated and specialized. In economic cooperation, the people perform helping each other directly in performing similar tasks, whereas in high division of labor society, people help each other indirectly by carrying their specialized subtasks, and each of those subtasks combine to give a larger specialized task. So the cooperation is indirect. If you talk about the social bonds, people have the bonds of kinship, bhaichara, alright, and these are kinship based strong social bonds, whereas if you talk about the high division of labor society, the social bonds or social relations are contractual. If you talk about what are the major concerns of the low division of labor society, mechanical solidarity society, it is that the solidarity which is mechanical solidarity is not that strong as much as the organic solidarity, and therefore you need high control and regulation. Whereas in the society which is high division of labor society, control and regulation is not important, it is merit and skills. Then if you talk about the collective conscience of the people, how much they believe in the common belief system, it is very large, high intensity, it is highly dominating the people. Whereas in case of the high division of labor society, the hold of collective conscience is small, low, and it has low determinateness, and it is something that we must understand. In low division of labor society, the authority is absolute, and in high division of labor society, individual autonomy is more important. If you talk about the laws in low division of labor society, they are repressive, whereas in case of high division of labor society, the laws are reformative. And lastly, if you talk about the solidarity, yes, it is mechanical, weak solidarity, whereas in high division of labor society, the interdependence results into the stronger social bond between the people. So these are the grounds of comparison. You can write even a essay on these words or the dimensions that I have given you in this particular answer. Let us now go and talk about question number 6. Question number 6 says that define social change and critically evaluate any one theory of social change. So if we talk about social change, a definition is given on your screen that social change is nothing but it is the change in the society. What is society comprising of? Society comprises of human interaction. What is society comprising of? Society comprises of relationships. And these human interactions and relationships, they result into cultural and social institutions being set up in our country. So human interactions and relationships, they transform the culture, they form the culture and social institutions. And when there's a change in human interactions, when there's a change in the human relationships, they bring a change in the cultural and social institutions, and these changes, they occur over the time, and they have long and profound influence upon the society, and these changes in the society have been referred to as social changes. Basically you are changing everything in the society. Now, talking about the theories of social change, the theories of social change talks about a view of the society. Then, what are the various sources of a change in the society? What is the process of a change? What is the direction of a change? And what is the consequence of product of a change? All these 5 things put together becomes a theory of social change. There are various theories of social change, and for critically analyzing a theory of social change, you can talk about one prominent theory, and that theory is the conflict theory of social change. The conflict theory of social change was given by a famous sociologist, Karl Marx. Marx gave the conflict theory of social change, and according to Marx, in the society exists internal contradiction which manifests itself in the form of class struggle. This struggle is over the distribution of private property, which is unequally distributed, that results into relations of domination and exploitation, where the two groups, which is exploited and which exploits, their objectives are opposite to each other. This results into a condition for conflict that materializes when the group which is exploited develops subjective awareness of objective reality, that results into development of class consciousness, and this results into development of class struggle, which manifests itself in the form of violent conflict, and there brings the changes in the society. So what we are talking about is nothing but Marx theory of class struggle, which is a theory of social change according to Marx. And इसका जो आपने critical evaluation पढ़ा है वो इस आंसर में आप लिख देंगे, you will get full marks. Let us now look into the question number 7. What do you understand by rural-urban continuum? How would the development of rural-urban areas, how would the development of urban areas with rural-urban characteristics, that will impact the Indian society? Very interesting question. ये बेसिकली सोशियोलॉजी का क्वेश्चन कम है और ये ज्योग्राफी का क्वेश्चन ज्यादा है. रूरल अर्बन कॉन्टिन्यूम इस तरीके से आप डायग्राम में रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हो. एक तरफ रूरल एरिया है और दूसरी तरफ अर्बन एरिया है. ठीक है, तो बेसिकली क्या है, यू कैन नॉट कंप्लीटली टुडे इन इंडियन सोसाइटी designate an area as completely rural area. Today you cannot designate an area in Indian society as completely urban area, because today we are witnessing that areas in Indian society are merging such that there's a gradual increase of urban characteristics when one moves from rural area towards urban areas, and there's a gradual increase of rural characteristics when one person moves from the urban areas to rural areas, such that today some areas are more urban, some areas are more rural. So more rural areas have the characteristics of smaller population, less population density, but they have longer distance from the urban areas. But if you talk about the urban areas, which are more urban areas, they have larger population and they have high population density. But there is no one particular area which is pure rural or one particular area which is pure urban. They are lying on a continuum. They are lying on a continuum, and this continuum is known as the rural urban continuum. Now, what is the impact of the rural development, or what is the impact of the rural development, or you can say the urban areas being developed in Indian society. So you can say that with development of urban area in Indian society, there's diversification of economic activity in Indian society, such that there's all right. Let's come to the discussion. So when the rural areas are developing into urban areas, there's diversification of economic activity, and this diversification of economic activity is increasing the per capita income of the people in the urban areas. Then, because of the urban-like characteristics developing in the urban areas, there is reduced rural distress, which is right now the very important reason of violence and trouble among the rural Indian society. The urban areas witness a decrease in the agricultural distress. The agricultural distress come to a reduction. Then the rural areas result into reduced rural urban migration. And most important, it results into improving the socio-economic indicators of the society. So what you see that the impact of development of urban areas, which are developed rural areas, we are witnessing an increase in economic activity, increase in per capita income, increase or diversification of economic activities. That results into reduced agricultural distress, rural distress. That results into reduced rural to urban migration, and most important, it results into improved socioeconomic indicators for the entire rural Indian society. So this is the answer to the second part of the question, as how the development of urban areas impact the Indian society. And you can very well make this particular diagram by your own hand in the answer script to fetch really good marks, because in many of the examinations, particularly the civil services examinations, diagrammatic representations or creativities are given more rewarding points than anything else. Now from here we are going to the last question, the question number 8. Write an essay on the environment protection movement in India. So if you talk about the environmental movements in India, you can write this particular introduction where you can talk about that though the environmental movements in India are a recent phenomena, but in India something has been existing since ages, which has been pointed out by two very prominent environmental sociologists in India, Gadgil and Guha. Madhav Gadgil and Ramchandra Guha, they have written a very prominent book, and the name of the book is The Fissured Land and Ecological History of India. It shows that in India, the environmental movements, the social movements that deal with environmental protection in India, they are a very recent phenomena. But if you talk about environmental consciousness, the people's belief system of protecting the environment, it dates back to ages. This is a very beautiful introduction to a question about or an essay about environmental movements in India. We have developed in the ancient past, we had eco-paganist movements. What are eco-paganist movements? Where you attach spiritualism with the natural elements of environment. So in India, in the very ancient phenomena, there were eco-paganism. Paganism, something related to religion. Eco, you link spirituality with ecosystem, with environment or natural elements. Just for example, you know that there are various communities in Rajasthan which treat a particular species of tree as their god. There are sacred groves. The concept of sacred groves is an example of eco paganism. All right, अगर आप उनके sacred groves से पेड़ काटोगे, you are hurting their gods. So eco-paganism in India has been existing since ages, even if the modern environmental movements are a recent phenomena. However, in the contemporary time, we are witnessing that there are special stand-alone environmental movements in Indian society. And these stand-alone environmental movements in Indian society, they revolve around a bunch of issues that include forest and land rights, that includes dams, that includes commercial exploitation of mines, harming the environment, that includes the right over extraction of marine resources, that includes air pollution, water pollution and river pollution, that includes solid waste resulting into killing the aesthetic or pristine quality of the environment we live in, That includes soil degradation, desertification, deforestation. That includes threat to the genetic diversity by introduction of genetically modified foods. That includes loss of biodiversity. It further includes man-animal conflicts and environmental disasters like the Uttarakhand flood of 2013, and lastly the industrial disasters that have taken place such as Bhopal tragedy and Chernobyl. So these 14 areas are representing a set of larger issues that are targeted through environmental movements in India in general, in particular, and world in general. Now, if we talk about the birth of environmental movements, so remember we are writing about an essay on environmental movements in India. So if we talk about the birth of environmental movements in India, the environmental movements in India started somewhere close to 1972 with the organization of the United Nations Conference on Human Environment in Stockholm in the year 1972. This conference, it provided a platform for the people's ecological sentiments to come to the forefront, helping them develop a number of studies and reports on the conditions of deterioration of environment and the impact it is going to have on the current generations and the generations to come. This United Nations Conference on Human Environment, it resulted into development of green politics not just in India but also other parts of the country such as Germany, world such as Germany and North America. It resulted into launch of the new green movements. It resulted into emergence of a network of voluntary organizations, civil society that raised environmental issues through bringing the entire world together, and India is not a different and India is not indifferent to the environmental cause. Then you can, towards the end of your essay for 20 marks, you can talk about the classification of the environmental movements in India, and you can say that in India the environmental movements can be divided into two types: pure environmental movements and combined environmental movements. The pure environment movements actually tackle only the environmental aspects and no other thing related to human life, such as there is an air pollution movement of N.C. Mehta in Delhi. There is a Chennai water pollution movement. There is Tarun Bharat Sangh of Rajendra Singh, who is also known as the Waterman of India. Similarly, if you talk about the combined movements, they not only talk about the environmental consciousness, they do not just only talk about the environmental aspect, but they also take into consideration some of the social aspects. For example, Sundar Bahuguna, she started the Tehri movement against the formation of Tehri Dam that not just harmed the environment but also resulted into displacement of millions of people. The Chipko movement that was started by Chandi Prasad Bhatt in Uttarakhand not just only had the environmental aspect but also the economic aspect related to this movement. Narmada Bachao Andolan of Meda Patkar was not against Sardar Sarovar Dam that was resulting into submergence of a large piece of land, killing its flora and fauna diversity, but it was also against displacement of huge number of tribal people from the areas to some other areas. So you can classify environmental movements in India into pure environmental movements which are just targeting the environment, and combined movements which try to achieve some other goal through the route of environment. So in the pure environment movement, talk about the air pollution movement of N.C. Mehta in Delhi, talk about the Chennai water pollution movement, talk about the Tarun Bharat Sangh of Rajendra Singh. Then there is combined movements which try to achieve the environmental protection through which try to achieve the environmental protection, environmental preservation as the primary aim. Along with that, it intends to achieve some other social aims such as the Tehri movement of Sundar Bahuguna, the Chipko movement of Chandra Prasad Bhatt, and lastly the Narmada Bachao Andolan of Meda Patkar. So this is how you can conclude. Alright, this is how you can conclude your essay, and this is the answer to the question related to environmental movement protection in India. Now, we have discussed these 8 questions, but what is more important that you should try to appreciate is not just the content or the structure of the answer, but here focus upon the flow charts. How you articulate the ideas in your mind, try to bring it on paper. When you bring the ideas that you have in your mind, if they are properly organized, you can very well flow, or you can very well make a very good flow chart in the answer sheet as well if you do not have adequate time to write a particular answer. All these things develop through practice, and I'm sure that you have already practiced a lot because you are going to write your mains in next 1 month. So I hope that it was a great learning experience for you, and I will see you in the fourth lecture of this series, where I'm going to discuss the paper 2 of the year 2019 in the same manner, helping you understand the art of writing answers, helping you revise the sociology optional through the previous year question discussion. And that's all from my side. I hope it was a great learning experience for you. Keep tuned to Civilstap for such wonderful videos helping you people achieve your dreams of being the bureaucrats in Himachal Pradesh and India in general. That's all. Have a great evening, great day, great morning, whatever time of the day you are watching this video. This is Akash Sherawat. See you in the next video.